and welcome to Punished for Protecting. I am your host, Francesca Amato Banfield. I am the founder of the National Coalition for Family Court and CPS Reform. Today I would like to just tell you a little bit about my own story. We have been doing many segments on people, parents, victims, when we like to call them survivors of abuse, regarding being punished for doing what comes naturally, protecting your children. Today, I'm going to introduce you to someone who happens to be my mother. She would be my child's grandmother. And the reason that I am interviewing her today is because she would like to tell a little bit about her feelings and also to encourage grandparents out there. We feel that the family is the most fundamental part of the United States of America. And this is the reason that I'm doing this show. Also, regarding my own story, the reason that I became an advocate is to help people in our community and communities and the United States to get their stories out there, to get the truth told. I have witnessed firsthand the diabolical family court system in our nation and the diabolical system called, in most states, called Child Protective Services. It goes by different names. I call it Child Unprotective Services. That is the reason I became an advocate myself, because I literally had to go through the court system myself trying to protect my own child, and I could not protect my own child. Not by anything I was doing wrong, but because the system is completely backwards. I'd like to introduce to you today my mother, Adrienne Akhmoudi.
Hi, how you doing?
Welcome to our show today.
Thank you.
I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions. What is one of the reasons that you wanted to tell your story, and what has happened to you as a grandmother?
Well, it's been very, very difficult. My grandson is 9 years old, and you raised him since the day he was born. He's had a beautiful life. He's got a loving family, a wonderful mother. He's taught how to grow up as a reputable citizen of this country. We want him to abide by the law. We want him to grow up and have a happy and successful future. And he was given every opportunity. He came out of a wonderful, loving home. We're just a good family. We don't do drugs. We are not alcoholics. We don't have any issues. No criminal activity. There's never been anything. I have raised my daughter Fran and two other children, a son and another daughter. I have grandchildren as well as great-grandchildren. They've been in college. One's a teacher. Another one is starting college this year, who wants to be an attorney. It's just, we're just the type of people. I'm very, very involved in my community. I am president of the Ladies Auxiliary in my community. I'm also vice president of the senior citizen group in my town. I do a lot of volunteer work. We're just healthy-minded American citizens, and we have high moral standards. And the past 9 years that my grandson is on this earth, he's had a lovely life, except for a situation with his dad. His father has not changed at all. You would think after 9 years he would have become a reputable person. Instead, there's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of alcohol, DWIs, domestic violence, and I have not seen my grandson in over 7 months.
And so, what was your actual interest, or actually, what was your actual experiences in the family court? Have you been in the family court?
Yes, unfortunately, I have.
Have you court watched, or have you been on the stand?
I have been on the stand twice, I believe it's been. I have sat in the courtroom, and I cannot believe. I never had any idea of how corrupt the court system is. It's just, I can remember hearing the term kangaroo court, and now that I've been a part of this, I see exactly what that means. I have been in a courtroom where you're not allowed to speak. Your First Amendment rights are completely, you're not allowed to cry. You are treated terribly. I have been insulted. I have been, my children have been insulted. They don't even know us. It's been terrible. And our constitutional rights are completely taken away from us. And it's almost like they laugh in your face. Evidence is never allowed. We've had evidence, unbelievable, the evidence that we've had where my grandson has been placed in severe danger. I don't sleep at night. I worry every night. I'm 73 years old, and I worry every day that, am I going to ever see him again? Am I ever going to hear his voice? We're a very close family. I've spent a lot of time with my grandson and all my grandchildren. That's the kind of family we are. And I have no idea why we are not allowed to know if he's okay. We're 45 minutes away from him, and we're not allowed to know anything about him. And nothing makes sense. Nothing at all.
So just to inform the viewers a little bit more about my case, my particular case, which I will be getting more in depth and sharing with you about my case, I'm actually in the process of finishing a book which will be published very shortly, and you'll get to hear our entire story. But I've always had my child. I actually have a grown married daughter, and like my mother said here, we are a very reputable family with a clean, immaculate background. And the paternal influence has had extensive and overwhelming evidence of criminal activity, drug and alcohol activity, probation type of thing. And just as all the stories that I get, all the callers that I get, all the emails that I get, all the cases that I view myself have, where children are placed at risk. And this is the emphasis of the show and the program that we have been doing, Punished for Protecting, where our rights are violated with what comes natural to you and I to protect our children. Is completely violated, and and most people will say the same thing, and I know there's no general rhyme or reason to the madness, but it seems the consensus is, or the pattern of abuse is, that if you report abuse, you lose the child to abuse. And their way of thinking, if there is any sort of way of thinking, is that you cannot alienate the child from the criminal parent. And so their remedy for that is to alienate the good parent from the child and the child from the good parent, which is actually detrimental. And we are going to be having many different experts on being interviewed, those that will speak in depthly about ACEs and Saunders and the detrimental brain damage, life-shortened expectancy, and the different things that happen to children placed at risk. They don't have to be physically punched or beaten, but if they're in that environment, or environments such as drugs and alcohol and so on and so forth, where there's inconsistencies and there isn't a stable home environment, they will suffer long-term effects, short-term and long-term effects. So again, I'm going to just ask you, as a grandmother, and speaking on behalf of other grandparents that are out there, because we're a show and we're an advocacy group, and we work with advocacy groups that are for fit parents. And so being from a fit family, a stable family, speaking to those fit grandparents that are completely abused, as far as I'm concerned, by the family court and by Child Protective Services, not protecting our children in our nation, what would you say to them? What would you say to them?
It's not easy, and I'm not going to say that it is easy. As I said, I've had many sleepless nights. There have been times when I just sit here and cry out to God, why is this happening? How is it possible that this is happening to us? But I know one thing. These children need us. We are the only stability they have is this family, a family that's healthy, healthy minds, no drug addiction. They know. My grandson is 9, and he knows right from wrong. He knows when he's in a home where he's well fed and he's bathed and he's clean and he's got toys and he's got 2 little pets and he's got guitar lessons and soccer lessons, and you know, he knows what a normal life is, and he now knows what a life that isn't normal, that he's around alcohol and he's around domestic violence and he's around drug addiction, and he sees it. He knows, but I know that he's gripped in fear. He's afraid to say or do anything. He's only 9 years old. And what broke my heart recently was when I found out that he came to my daughter on a visit and saying, he was all about wondering how his grandma was. I don't know what triggered this, but I'm wondering if maybe a child that he's friends with maybe just lost their grandmother. And he was all about, but how's my grandma? Are you sure she's okay? My daughter said, yes, Grandma's fine. And she did everything to try to assure him because he was really very, very upset. And to think that this child has to think that his grandmother, who we were together constantly, we did a lot together, that he was worried about me. That tore me up, that broke my heart. This is so unhealthy for a child to be going through this. A 9-year-old boy that came out of a home where he was loved and nurtured and taken care of and taught right from wrong is now going through this horror. And it makes no sense. And I'm worried about him. I'm worried about the damage that this is causing him. This is not the way children ought to be raised. A 9-year-old boy should be happy and secure, and he's not any longer. So I don't know what else to say other than all you grandparents, you have to remain strong and keep yourselves healthy and keep your minds strong so that, you know, when you do finally get to see them, you can assure those children that you're fine and you're okay. So you got to keep yourself well. You can't allow this to get you. You can't allow it to beat you.
Well, thank you very much, and we're going to continue this with the Grandparents Week. So anybody that's a grandparent that has suffered loss, where you've had your primary caretaking parent, child, yourself, taken your grandchildren by judges rendering these horrible decisions that damage them irreparably,